Hi, so I was told to choose a career and reflect on how liberal arts skills might be relevant to the job world today. So I watched two videos about Fareed Zakira and Charles Murray. And what I learned from these videos was two main points that I would like to talk to you guys about today. So um, Fareed Zakira went on to talk about how liberal arts education is very valuable, and although majors like engineering and computer science uh, are beneficial in the job world today when you're going into careers like that, but the most beneficial thing you can do if it's not as centered as an engineering or computer science job is get a liberal arts degree, because a liberal arts degree um, combines a bunch of different topics into one learning lesson plan that benefits you to do more jobs. So an example he used was the design school at a university, and was talking about how they put design, architecture, computer science, um, and communication, all these things into one major, uh, which really develops kids to be ready in the real world because they're using so many different resources and they're sufficient in them, which I thought was a really good point. But also, what Charles Murray had to say about how uh, a BA, a bachelor's degree, is not worth the money or necessarily the time. Um, I don't necessarily agree with him on all points, but I do agree with the fact that having a way to certify people, maybe take a specific test that shows what you know and you know how to do things, not where you went to school and how long you spent time there. I thought that was a really good point, because just because I go to Providence College doesn't necessarily mean that I'm more suited um, than a kid that went to a different state school or a different school. Um, all it really means is that I attended the school, and to their degree, I um, did well enough that I was able to meet their credentials and graduate. And that's them saying I'm ready for the real world. But that doesn't necessarily mean anything. When I go into a job interview and they ask me questions, I might do well in an interview because I might have good people skills or something like that. But that doesn't necessarily show my intellectual level or that I know what I can know I can succeed at the job that they want me to. So the point I want to make is that I looked up a job that I might be interested in and a major that I might be interested in, which was health policy management. And I looked up a job that went along those lines, which is a mobile rheologic technologist, uh, which is basically I would have to perform and process X-rays, submit them to radiologists. I have to be proficient in Microsoft Windows or Microsoft Office. I have to be able to perform EKGs and transmit EKGs to cardiologists for interpretation. So, which might sound like difficult things because I don't necessarily know what an EKG is. Obviously, I haven't taken classes along those lines. But those jobs tend to make about 60 grand coming out of college, and that's a job where I feel a liberal arts degree would help me a lot, because that seems to put computer science, health policy management, and communications uh, all into one thing to um, I'm sorry. It puts all those things in uh, into one uh, job. So uh, I would be using a bunch of different skills that I learned at a university, a liberal arts university, to help me instead of just focusing down and being able to be certified um, in health policy management. So that's why I feel that it's definitely a beneficial thing to have a degree in liberal arts, and I think liberal arts majors can succeed.